For a long time, I thought peace and recovery would come once I stopped using. Then I thought, if I could just do everything right, I'd finally feel calm. But that isn't the truth. That isn't what happened because actually I stayed mentally restless for years. Not because I was doing anything wrong, but because I was still addicted. I wasn't acting on drugs or alcohol anymore. I was addicted to chaos. I was constantly thinking, I was judging, I was trying to control every situation. I was emotionally attached to everything. I mean, every conversation, every outcome, every feeling. So even though I had stopped using drugs and alcohol, I hadn't stopped thinking like an addict. And that kind of thinking creates just as much chaos as the drugs ever did. Do you relate? If so, this podcast is for you. Hey, I'm Paulie A, and welcome to the Lucky and Sober Life and Recovery podcast. This is where I talk about learning, living, and loving every single moment of recovery. So please subscribe and share if you think there is someone who would like this kind of information, who's looking for direction, looking for answers, and wants to live their recovery to the fullest and experience life, right? Because when we were using and abusing, we weren't living, we were just existing. So please make a comment. Let me know what you think. All right, let's get back to the subject matter, and that is that this chaos that we were living. In early recovery, I didn't realize that my thinking was actually much, much bigger than the drugs that I was using. That the thinking problem was 90%, the usage was 10%. In many cases, the usage was just a cover-up solution I believe was going to solve my problems, help me escape, just create a reality that was able for me to withstand and live in every day. And actually, that was just enhancing the problems. We know that the drugs, the alcohol, they just prolong the problems because what happens is when you take away the substance, what the substance was covering up is revealed, right? And that's recovery. Recovery is about finding those underlying layers, whether it's trauma, whether it's fear-based, whether there's mental wellness challenges, whether there was abuse, whatever it was, there's something underneath that made using and abusing drugs and alcohol a option, right? When I started using, everything got quiet, right? Everything calmed down. My racing brain seemed to slow down, and I'm like, hey, wow, this is really cool. This is good. If this is good with this little bit, if I do more, I'm going to feel even better. And the longer I do it, the better I'll feel, right? That's what I thought. The truth was so much farther from that. The reality was I was slowly being consumed by the drugs and alcohol, and I didn't even realize it. All right. And even then, when I stopped, my brain was still racing. Now I couldn't run from my problems and my challenges and the thoughts in my head through drugs and alcohol. So what am I going to do? How am I going to live sober? I got to do something. I need a distraction. I need to be stimulated. So what did I do? I became a workaholic, right? I was fortunate enough to get a great job in construction. So if I can work 40 hours and that seems to turn things out, what if I work 50, 60 hours a day? Actually, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm a young father. I'm a young husband. I'm in my 20s now and going into my 30s. You're supposed to work every single day, all you can, make as much money, provide for your family. So I could definitely justify rationalizing that behavior, right? And also what I what little free time I did have, I loved sports. I was very active, right? So I got into recreational softball. And if playing recreational softball once a week was good, playing it 2, 3 times a week was even better. And if I could participate in some tournaments on the weekends, oh man, I was in heaven, right? But all I was doing is continuously running. All I was doing was continuously staying in that chaos. It never, ever stopped. I really wasn't in recovery. I was around recovery. I was abstinent, but I wasn't dealing with the underlying issues, right? And eventually it's going to catch up. I remember one time I had a friend of mine. I invited him over to a family function. It was the 4th of July. We had a big picnic. We were going to go down and watch the fireworks provided by the city, very close to my house. Great time, cooked out on the grill. Everything seemed to be great. A couple weeks later, I said, hey, why don't you come over for another picnic? Why don't we all hang out and bring your kids, my kids? And my friend said, hey, Paul, whoa, I have to respectfully decline. I'm like, what's up? Didn't you enjoy yourself? What's wrong? He said, no, I had a good time, but there's just too much chaos at your house. Chaos? What are you talking about? Chaos? I'm sober. You're sober. We're not drinking. He goes, yeah, we're not drinking. There was other people drinking, but there's just completely dysfunction. There's a whole bunch of codependency behavior. There's a whole bunch of denial, manipulation. There's all kinds of things going on. This individual was further along in their recovery. They could spot all this dysfunctional behavior. I couldn't see it. See, because I had gotten used to it. This was acceptable. Like I said before, this is just the way midlife was supposed to be for a father and a husband and life in America. But no, it's not the way it was supposed to be. It's the way I had accepted it to be. It's the way I had allowed it to be because I didn't know any better. I wasn't a bad person. The people around me were bad people. We were just sick individuals in the sense that we didn't know any better and we weren't aware of our shortcomings, our character defects, and those things. So this really hit me hard. And I wanted to really change this. And I started to dive deeper into the 12 steps, because that's, going to be honest, friends, my foundation is in the 12 steps. Yes, I'm a peer specialist. This podcast is about peer support and recovery coaching. I believe in the many pathways, but I also understand that I needed structure. And at the time in the late 80s and into the 90s, all there was early in my recovery was the 12 steps. It was really the only game in town for actual community and support. If I took my way out of it, I had nothing. I know people that recovered in religion. I have nothing against religion. I tried religion. I couldn't surrender to certain principles and doctrine. That's all. And if you can't accept that doctrine, if you can't accept the rules and belief system and follow them 100%, it's not going to work. My friends, it's not going to work. So recovery, there's many pathways. There's the 12 steps. There's sober recovery or smart recovery, right? Which is cognitive behavioral therapy, where you learn new tips, techniques to use. And maybe we'll talk about that in further episodes of this program. There's some people are able to recover with philosophy. Some people now are using psychedelics and believe that the use of psychedelics are what open the mind to reveal the answers to the universe and take away desire. Well, let me tell you, friends, maybe that works for high bottom individuals, but I did plenty of psychedelics in my day and it didn't help. I'm just saying, for me. But I'm one of those people that believe that addiction is a threefold disease. It's a physical disease, right? There's a certain population percentage of us that once we ingest drugs and alcohol, we are just, it grabs us, right? For me, alcohol is a stimulant, right? When it hits my tongue and enters my body, it automatically desires more. It craves it, right? And then it's psychological, right? People, you say that or you don't and can't get addicted to marijuana and stuff. Well, let me tell you, my friends, I was mentally obsessed and consumed by marijuana and other drugs such as that, but especially marijuana for multiple years. All I wanted to do from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed was smoke pot. I thought, hey, this is a good thing. Like I said, it quieted my mind. Things seemed to be okay, right? It canceled out the fears. I was just, hey, easygoing Paul. I don't really care. Happy go lucky, you know. And but the problem is, I was going nowhere, you know, because the after effects of being burnt out took all ambition away from me. I didn't want to practice for sports anymore. I didn't want to study for school. I was burnt out, you know, because the high gets you here and the burnout brings you down there. And you can't have one without the other. But the point I'm making is we're going back to that it's a threefold disease. One, there's the physical addictions. Second, there's the mental obsessions. And third, there's the spiritual malady, which means connection, right? Some people, I think, are able to recover once they get that connection, whether they find it in church, whether they find it in a 12-step program. Nowadays, you have sober and curious get-togethers. Hey, like-minded people. I have relatives, I have family members who are not alcoholics and addicts, but they don't want to drink, right? So they like to hang around other people that don't want to drink. Their interest is in health and fitness and being outdoors. That's where they get these natural highs, which are fantastic highs, man. They're great, great things. And that's what works for them. So bravo, good for you. That's what is important. What's important is you find community. But it also is important if you have underlying issues such as I did, right? I have to address those underlying issues. And that's what we're going to talk about, that chaos. How do I get rid of that chaos? How do I calm it down? Well, for me, it's eventually I had to come up with some structure, right? And we're going to talk about structure here, about morning routines. You're going to hear me repeating this over and over and over because it's so important that we figure out a structure that we could do. And, you know, one of the ways I want to challenge you is this ongoing series I'm going to throw into these podcasts. It's called The Next Right Thing, right? And doing the next right thing, I'm going to challenge you to practice 3 new techniques, principles, ideas that you can apply into your day and make yourself give yourself the opportunity to have the best day. So I think one of the things that when it comes to chaos for me was, and calming my brain down, was starting to establish some boundaries, right? Several boundaries. One was boundaries with my own mental thinking. Like I told you, I was constantly trying to control, judging every situation going on around me. I was watching TV, become a political junkie, right? What does that do? That just creates an emotional roller coaster. 1 minute, your party, your beliefs, whatever are doing good, and the next minute, they're in the tanks. 1 minute, America's going to survive. The next minute, we're all doomed. We're all going to die, right? And that's, for me, a person whose brain never shuts off, is not good, right? So I had to start setting some boundaries with my thoughts and saying, hey, can I control this? No. Well, the serenity prayers, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, the wisdom is I can only change myself, my thoughts, my actions, right? I can't control other people, places, or things. I can't control the politics. I can't govern the country. That's not my job. That's not my lane. So I learned with my thoughts to start staying in my lane. It's about becoming aware. So the next time, my challenge is for you, one, the next time you find yourself up in a loop, a mental loop, wrapped in the chaos and what's going on around you, ask yourself, is this really my lane? Do I really control this? Can I change this? Is there any actions I can? And if the answer is no, let it go. Let it go. Just say, this is not my lane. I want the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom is I have the power to change my thoughts and my actions. It's the only thing I can control. And today I choose recovery, and I'm going to focus on recovery principles. And I'm going to let the world solve its own problems today. All right. So that's number one. Number two, I encourage you to set boundaries on your time. Like I said, this is a physical, emotional, spiritual, mental disease, right? And so we have to take care of the body. You have to get in your circadian rhythm. You have to figure out what it is. And you need to get the proper amount of sleep. I used to think I had this crazy idea when I found out that we sleep like a quarter of our life away. If you sleep 8 hours a day, you sleep a quarter of your life away. I'm like, hey, or a third, right? Because there's 3, 8, 16, 24 hours in a day, right? So if you sleep 8, you're going to miss out on a third of your life. Well, the addict in me, right? The obsessive, impulsive person I am, that little ADHD said, oh, well, that ain't happened to me. I'm going to survive on 5 hours of sleep. And, it was not good. I think it really created the chaos because we need to let our brain relax. We need to just let it settle down. Neuroplasticity, all the new neuroscience is telling us that good deep sleep is where the brain heals itself, regenerates itself, just like our body, our physical body. If we work all day, with construction, by the end of the week, I was beat up, busted, broken, right? I was feeling it. And then I'd sleep, super late on Saturday or super late on Sunday. And then now my rhythm's all out of whack once again. So also that dedicated sleep allows our muscles and our bodies to recuperate, regenerate. That's when it's all growth is done. So my goal and my challenge to you is set a timer, go to bed at the same time, roughly the same time every night. Put the phone down, put everything down, do maybe some breathing, and get yourself relaxed. Write your goals down, put them on the edge of the table. There's a bonus. And in the morning, wake up, read those goals. But go to bed at the same time, roughly, and get up at the same time, even on weekends. Even on weekends. I know that's hard. You want to stay up late. And yes, sometimes it's going to happen. You got a sports activity, you got a concert or something you want to go to. I get it. That's perfectly fine. But try to do that as much as possible. I know when I did that, it really started to improve my mental health and my physical health. And finally, the biggest probably is emotional boundaries, setting up safe havens for yourself, right? Going back, it sort of ties into number one. The world doesn't revolve around you and you can't solve everything, right? So learning to set up those emotional boundaries and say, hey, I'm not going to deal with this right now. Same with the family members, same with friends. You can set up boundaries. You don't have to fix their chaos. In fact, you can't fix their chaos until you fix yours, right? I always tell family members, if you really want to help your loved one, become the healthiest version of yourself. Because once you do that, then they'll see it. And also, you'll be able to show them how you did it, right? Here's a quick key tip too, also to remember, said it before, we teach people how to treat us. So teach the people to treat you right. So my challenge to you is start setting up those emotional boundaries. Pay attention what triggers you, sends you off into a frenzy, and say, no, I'm not going to emotionally attach myself to this situation. It's not mine to fix. I'm here to fix myself. So I think those are some huge lessons. And if you let them set in and really start to be aware of what's going on, you're going to find out that your life is going to start moving in a good, orderly direction. Right? I don't know how it happens, but it just does. It happens because structure doesn't take away the chaos. What it helps you do is to navigate through it and bring it down inch by inch, step by step. So continue to keep working on yourself every single day. Continue to broaden your horizons. Give yourself the opportunity to succeed by setting up some structure, whatever that structure looks like to you. Most importantly, structure that you'll follow through on. It doesn't matter if you write down a bunch of things that you're going to do and then throw the paper away and never follow through. Sometimes the best action is, if you need to exercise, just put on your shoes and walk, right? And the best action you can take if you're in chaos is call someone. Share that chaos, because you never know. They may be going through a very similar issue. And by you guys discussing it, now you work together. I hope you got something out of this episode. If you did, please feel free to write what it was down in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what else you'd love to hear me talk about. What's bothering you? What hurdles are you trying to get over? I'll be glad to share my experience, strength, and hope, and share that library of wisdom that I've acquired through the hard knocks, right? And from other people and other resources. I'm not a guru, I'm a guide, and I'm here to guide you through recovery and help you learn, help you live, and help you to love every single minute of it. My name's Paulie A., your peer specialist. Be well, be safe, and always remember, be good to yourself.